아래 그래서 나는 뭐 예디 네 지게 수수기 개와사 셰비기 개와디 계셔서 네 지게 셈제 니지게 지목이기 사야도 약간 체력이 되라 사야도 된다다 네도 돌로그 한절로 돌로다 세어봐도 세 메인거니 메인 데니기 한지 메요고 받아 면받아 데니기 강아 유세 된다리야 도시는 유세담제 나소소 규제 됐을이야 론주바 용어 쇼스비 데니기 내가서 뭐하게 받을 도시는 그 생기 쉬 뭐에 거시거라.
Good evening. Last week we continued to look at verses on dedication, in particular the dedication of merit towards the alleviation of suffering, those who are experiencing suffering from illness, those who are experiencing suffering from famine and drought, and those who are experiencing suffering from impoverishment. To ease their suffering, we dedicate the merit. So that's what we looked at in brief last week.
어디서 이게 생각주다 야라도 유고네 근데 초서 tip자지에게 디고주 다른 담아고가 되지 말에 다든이 찬에다 야라도 준비게 되네 초서 tip자지가 찬에디네 디린딘 마카 가르슈어스네 당주 진바 동회 선바 장야 농심 고비에 장야디 디고 마시어데 돈.
This is in the context of the 7-limb practice, where dedication is the final limb. So tonight, continuing, we look at a special practice of generosity, of giving. And in a sense, that it's a continuation of dedication where one gives one's merit, and now one continues here with a revisiting of the practice of generosity.
류다 대시 론제다 주숨께와 탐제자 심정군이 된 줍칠 방법에 따라 자스.
The 11th verse in the 3rd chapter. So as to benefit all sentient beings, I will give without regret or sense of loss my body, my possessions, and even all my virtue of the 3 times.
아디네 자다 델리아 진바 동회기 동회 로 종야리야 아주 종야들이야 당은 동해기 진보동에 제디 가르라는 저기 디송거다 유이다 대신 론죄다 주숨계와 탐제장 세대 당은 동해 제디 소수기 류시에 안에 소수기에다 저 론죄 가르여배네 론죄다 세다 고에다 데네기 론죄 가르여배 론죄 티케체 안디마제 저기 주숨도 사베게 마마사바다 다다사다 마오바나 사바디에 개와 탐제 안디스 심진 야 동에게 집에 제디스고다 대신 류당 론주 류당 대신 론주도 주숨개와 탐제 장세.
This verse starts a section where one is training one's mind in giving, in generosity. So looking at the 11th verse then, the first 2 lines in the Tibetan is our 3rd and 4th line. And this specifies what it is that one is training one's mind to give. So this presents what it is that one is giving. And it mentions, firstly, my body, secondly, my possessions, and thirdly, and even all my virtue of the 3 times. So the virtue that we have accumulated, the virtue we are accumulating, and the virtue that we are still to accumulate. So this is what is to be offered.
나도한서 유의지 뭐라 술 당고래서네 샘제군 샘제 담절에 당고래서 나서 유의디 안데 되네기 제대 진바 나서 유의디 가서 샘제 담제에서 샘제군에서 송거.
And to whom is the offering made? So in English, that's our first line, to all sentient beings. So this is to whom the offerings are made.
근데 된다 그러시 가래 된다 된 거라나 된줍치를 샘제 군이 된줍치를 샘제 군이 된 내가 대화 류다 대화다 샘제 대화 근데 내가 대화다 근데 탈도 근데 탈바다 탐지킨 벽과 토비하게 이 급의 철도 안다고 그래서 제도 자와 샘제 군이 아니 된 그래서 고야디 그 된세 된다디 그 고야디 샘제로 고야 그래서 디키리스 디제 디기들 내가 지기다 탈도 탈바다 탐지긴 보고 데 아니 디 주비하게 된다래 당 거에서 심지어 군이다 돈줍 치르스
Still with the first line in English, there's for what reason is one practicing generosity? And that is so as to benefit, or it can be expressed as so as to fulfill the purpose of beings. So what we've looked at firstly was what is offered, secondly, to whom, and now thirdly, for what purpose. And that is to benefit beings, and benefit beings both in a temporary as well as in an ultimate or final manner. Temporary being we are giving to beings so that they experience both physical and mental happiness. That's temporary. And then ultimate or final would be the happiness of liberation and enlightenment. So the benefits, that is, the purpose of making offerings is to fulfill the wishes of beings. And in brief, all beings want to be happy. So the benefit that one is striving to achieve through giving here is to enable beings to attain both temporary physical mental happiness as well as the lasting, stable, unending happiness that is liberation and enlightenment.
지상 다 심제 군이 된기 셔스다 가서 심제 탐지기 되 란다 셴 차상게 된다 닝보 된다 데 가래랍나 가서 지상 디기고의 책으로와 지상 디기데 한 세대래나 기디나 인대와다 기부셔야다 안수식 된다 소속이 된다 두고 두고의 책으로 대화다 디기 제대한 아직 아직 이미지 디기와 제나 강아요 받네 많이 받지 기디네 데 띵게 대화 근데 탈투바데 내가 되어 띵게 되어 대야는 지금 네 녀모 바샤다 제바 균간 가야 매비게 탈투 탈 탐지킨 벽고 뭐지 디기디다 만줄 고야기다 된다 심제 탐지를 고야기 된다 디르와 지산 디주비게 된다라 디주비게 된다라 아니 심제 탐지를 디 요야게 라야게 된다라야 아니 가지고 류론주 아니 주스 소소기 류이다 소소기 롱주 간인바다 소소기 뒤숨 사베게와 간인바 탐지 디수기 된다 주의하기 치료도다 디심 된다라 당기에서 당고고래서 숨어봐.
So what I've translated in the first line is so as to benefit. This is more literally to fulfill the purpose of all sentient beings. So what is the purpose, or it could be the meaning of sentient beings? It doesn't work so well in English, hence benefit. But what is being referred to here is the deepest desire of all beings is to achieve happiness. And happiness is expressed of two types. So there's happiness that is temporary. It does not last. This is the kind of happiness, or the happiness we have ever experienced is within this class. And then there's ultimate happiness. This is a happiness that is lasting and stable, a happiness that is unending. So here, what one is the purpose of beings that one is striving to fulfill is to help them experience or attain happiness, both the temporary happiness that they initially have access to, as well as at the attainment of lasting, stable happiness, or ultimate happiness. And ultimate happiness is the happiness that beings abide in, that experience continuously when they have abandoned completely the causes that lead to suffering, namely the afflictions and their seeds. So when this purpose has been fulfilled of being, so again, what's translated as benefit is literally fulfill the purpose of. So when the purpose of beings is fulfilled, in other words, that they have abandoned the afflictions together with their seeds, that is what one really is dedicating to, as well as temporary happiness between now and when lasting happiness is attained.
근데 디니기 땅고에는 땅에 심제 탐지기든 심제를 다 디든다 그래서 심제기도 내가 되어나 탈바 탐지기 보고 같이 땅고에서 디네 땅에다 나 간스 땅고에는 방법에 봐 땅을 자서다 간스 땅고에서 땅나들 간스 방법에 봐 땅을 자서 방법에 봐 땅을 자서 제가 방법람나 지게 마즈르 교보로 차고로 요 그냥 세고기 폼발라 나서 둘로기 세기 폼발라네 세메바 칼라사 메바 둘로 고기 폼발라네 고요 고야 메바들 폼바세고로다 진짜 폼바 메바 당와라 자세지 다디기 당탄의 송거래 폼바 메바 당와라 자세.
So what we looked at thus far in this verse was firstly what it is that one is giving, and that was our body, possessions, and virtue, to whom? All sentient beings. Why? So as to benefit sentient beings, and to benefit them in particular, help them achieve both short-term as well as ultimate happiness. Now the final line, which is our second line, is how to give, and that is to give without any regret or sense of loss.
제가 폼밤에 나오라 잘라는데 당하는 나라 가르섬 거스네 가르섬 나라 가르섬네 이 동호주 샤상치면 지한달 땅샤변 나랑 사야 말에 나랑 고용 학교 책으로 왔으면 비데 폼배 삼도 리그로 봐 폼배 삼도 학교 책을 쓰면 나랑 강한 책이래 나 사야라기 말에 나 어느 둘로 가야 말에 자기 말씀 비기 이 폼배 삼도시 소소 교부 책을 쓰면 삼도 여러 가지라 디 삼다교 말에서 디닉 삼마다지 소소 교부 차이 삼 균에마다 젠리아 즉 디고 균에 삼마다 젠리아 당긴 셈비기 다 소소 교부 차나 가르차면 다 젠리아 당긴 셈비 삼당을마다 소소 교부 차이를 셈비 다 디네 있는 아주 땅 두고 말 나랑 고고를 가면 나 교부 차래 나 교부 차나 강아 책에 셈비 삼다이도 디네 땅 두고 말아서 디네 아주 센달리용 거 제가 디네 잔 진비기 냠는 탈침벌이 두고 말 제가 디네자 나 강아 책에 니 디샤산 제샤반 나랑 강아 책에서 개왕이 나랑 사베 개와샤산 샬리아 푸제샤반 디데부 디기데 나랑 요야라게 말딩아 디기 요야메바 디기 폼바 차로래 세괴다 아니지 롱주샤산 샬리아 제샤반 소소 롱주의 폼바 롱주의 메바 강아 책이래 소소 류디 제샤반 류디 메바 강아 책에 선비 두신의 폼베 삼다베나 소소 강아 책에 선비 삼다베나 디다교 말이죠. 또 폼바 메바 되게 삼노 균이 메바신 되게 아다 소소 강아 가르쳐네 신심절 디기 주는 디기도 선비 삼다지 당고 그래서
So that's in our second line, or the final line in Tibetan, this is about how to make an offering, how to give of oneself. So this is the attitude we need to cultivate to a sincere level, where one gives without any sense of loss. Because all too often, if we give, especially if we give to our fullest extent possible, there will be some fear that maybe I will lose out. Or if when we're deciding how much to give, there will be this hesitation, I need to hold back for myself. So we need to develop a sincere attitude where one gives wholeheartedly, without any trace of miserliness. So this would be developing a refreshingly generous mind, where one sincerely offers without holding anything back, or without a self-centered attitude holding anything back. So this is the way to give, without any sense of miserliness at all, or self-regard. Rather, what we had in the line before, the wish to benefit, this is dominant. One is not having as dominant in one's mind, but what about me? Rather, the wish to benefit, this is first and foremost in one's mind.
다디 나즈리아 삼나라야 지가 나즈리아 삼로 슈첨불이거 와다 지다디 어디 때문에 나랑 고구려 나 제마 나를 메디어 강아 책에 선배 삼로디 나랑 강아 책에 선배 삼로지 지 연구를 받지 되니기 나즈를 폼베 삼로 줘다 지상아 요주 예제되기 샹리아 제샤번 나랑 매바지 강아 책에 선배 삼로다 되니기다 나즈리아 민 소수기 다 류기 토한테 짐바 담이네 어디 때지는 나랑 강아 책에 선배게 나 되니게 삼로디 나즈리아 슈첨부 연구를 봐 되니 엔자디 되니게 삼로디 봐 돌고 거다 되니게 폼밤에 봐서야지 삼다교 말해서 그러다.
This is something within ourselves we need to look for. Because it's very easy to say, to give wholeheartedly, to give sincerely. But when we look inside, we'll see there's an overriding or overarching self-centered attitude, thinking, but what about me? This we need to guard against, and rather act with sincerity, giving of ourselves.
samdache tang tangyo ma penya sosugi pa jimbachi tenege kozole rowaje jeweina an sosulia oda midi yakbudu sadi tyanga raya tamnya raya dondalia a jinga zu pa jewen pa ji jimbata 파션 수랑이야 라야게 삼다 담 소수기 디렌리아 소수기 파지 제비기 수렌리아 소수라 잘라다 가르나 되나 주회게 삼다야다 소수리아 아니 쥐뛰어가라야 삼다야다 소수 담년다 차야 된다 누스는 삼다네 삼다교 말에 디네 삼다지 심다교 말에 당겨 뒤수 차사 매봐지 소수기 퐁베 삼로야 매봐 소수리아 안지 담다 담년다다 디기 안지기 파다베 데니게 추랑을 라야게 삼로 뛰어봐 강을 지라야게 뛰어봐 삼로 뛰비 삼로 가야 매봐지 두신 당고를 했어지 송거래.
When one does really look inside for the self-centered attitude that is impeding the quality with which we do give of ourselves, we'll notice not only the danger of having a sense of loss or regret, but also hoping to receive something in advance, receive something in return, in recompense. So one may be thinking of some karmic advantage that one may receive, some karmic benefit that may come your way, or expecting some appreciation, to be thanked, or perhaps to have a good reputation. So these kinds of expressions of a self-centered attitude, we need to be on the lookout for and abandon these. And to do so, we have at the forefront of our mind the benefit of others and be on guard for a self-centered attitude.
Bendigo samda that is lunga lo jaya or sungore that lo jaya changa lu lo chasa tang that nga samna yung lo lu chasa ta sha ben so so yeji chasa ba je sha ben ne so so za twen ba kanga ji ti ro je sa dina ya sun de lu lo je phang ba tang go le sung sha sam je de ni pe shi wo ji yang na ga plan le so so ya ji pe shi wo ji de ba ra ki shen ne so so ge ji so wa le shu chen bu ge shen ne 디네야 소수기 여버 차상 대샤제 대기 냐제 여러 바당아슬이야 디제샤데 딘 젤야 소소 강아 테데 디네 다 소소 강아 체기로 하다 소소 여버 차상 대샤바네 디네 소소 디 양제 라야레 강아 여러 바 강아 테도 된 가슴 질야 당에 대신 배지 제 배사샤 딜라메딜 푸이샤 심지 데줄레 대샤 다디 고가 대샤가스 비기 교바지야 냐 여러 바 디네 오등아 고가 다서 집에 lama jilia chasa pusha ba o de lama jinga ko ha ta so me na ko ha tie so de sen lama de de ba lo ya na de ne so so ge mi da nor sha se be de ne gyo ji ya che ko lo ji su ya ji dus ji ge sab sab ji ko
The purpose of this and all these verses, the purpose of Buddhism is to enable us through the gathering of knowledge to integrate that knowledge and train our mind. And then through this process, we come to know ourselves better. Through this process of transformation, we come to know ourselves better. So in this process, we need to be very wary of believing all the emotions that arise to our mind. Because at times one may feel a strong sense of inspiration. And in the context of giving, when a strong sense of inspiration arises, a wish to give completely may arise. And here we need to be aware that just because a thought has arisen, even if it appears to be virtuous, we need to continue to rely on our wisdom and not just blindly follow every thought that arises to us, in particular in the context of generosity, because one may want to give fully and completely, wanting to ease the suffering of others and spiritually develop. But if one gives beyond one's actual capacity, beyond what one is actually ready to give now, later, there's a very real danger that regret will come. And with that regret, perhaps a remorse and even a sense of negativity towards one's spiritual teacher who guided one in the practice of generosity. One may end up having a negative attitude towards him, criticizing him, thinking that you were misguided, misled. So here, be careful. Don't follow every emotion that arises. Don't go beyond your capacity. Give and give freely, but within your capacity.
Adi nga jiga ngoso lalen taya na lo jangya ni samlo tata ni de skharwa. Jisinda dadi nga so di lo jangya go so dada nga ro jiga lu shanle ya dang tu ma jimba dang tu ma re. Ne nga jiga lu jimba dang ba na so su bu te sha ba na so su bu de ne ben semje ji le de sa ju ba ina. No so ne tu ma so nyam ne ji tu ma ba. So nyam ne ji tu ma re. Ne so shanle pan do ju tu ma ba. Jisan so lu di 다른 아주 루다투고 말 제가 상기기 진배 따야디 루진배 따야디 전유세모 초람 받는 조람 벌레 루진배 따주고 말해서 거래 제가 전유세모 파발이야 루진배 따야디 온 거래 대지 건설래 루진배 따배 있네 루디 진배 따면 남사 그런 저기 루 양자 다라지 남사 죽투고 누바 그 요말에 강아이 지금 말 나도 소소기 벌이야 아주 루디 곧 sakji yu sa diba meba shasana yang jie ji gewa ji len ji lu ju ma do nam san lu ju ya yo ju tu go ma de de sa jen yu sen be ge nyam len ge ne ya san ye ge jen yu sen ba so so ge bo ya lu ji ma da ge ma de se song go de de sa da de deng ju le lu lo ji cha sa dang yin se de lo jang ya go xi wo lo jang ya jin ye ma lu ji ma dang ga la nie le ge dang yin se lo jang go de lo ma ja ba ne jang di dang yin se be sam lo thar Bendigo chimbodli tugo mare. Chisa tangin sembe lo jang jaja ina tangyo mares, lo jang gores. Lui chimbadi daji soso kibolen lui chimbat tangyo mare ina lo jang gores.
And an understanding to take here and in general is that it is to be expected that at times there will be a difference between what we are mentally training to do and what we actually do. So these two will be at times discordant. So what do you say in English about walking the walk? At times, one should not do that. For example, when we see here in this very verse, it says that one should give one's own body without any regret or sense of loss. But if we were to do that, that would be a mistake. We should not now go out and give our body to others to eat. For example, we should not feed others with our body, because that practice is beyond us. Nevertheless, we can train our mind, developing the wish to be ready to be able to do so, and developing the determination, when I am ready, I will do so. Buddha Shakyamuni himself said that ordinary bodhisattvas, the bodhisattvas on the paths of accumulation and preparation, they are not ready to give their bodies. So if actual bodhisattvas are not ready to give their bodies, so too, very ordinary beings like ourselves. Buddha said only Arya beings, Arya bodhisattvas, they can give their bodies to others. They can give their life to others. The difference being, they have complete control over the process of birth and death. Ordinary beings, whether ordinary bodhisattvas and certainly ordinary beings like ourselves, our birth and death is dictated by our karma. Only Arya bodhisattvas are beyond that. Therefore, not having control over our rebirth, our death and our rebirth, now is not the time to give our bodies. But now is the time where we can train our mind, develop the aspiration to be able to do so, and the determination that when we are Arya Bodhisattvas, that we will do so. So that then is how to relate to teachings. So there are times when how we train our mind and how we actually behave are not in accordance or not in harmony. But we understand when it's appropriate then not to do as we are training, and when it is appropriate to do as we are training.
Ada de ngonzu da de lo jaya de sungora de lo ngonzu jang ka la sam da gom ya di gom go re so de sam da je zu xin na de xin ne da zo su gi lu long jue ka re yo cha sa ya sim jen de di yu tu ya da sim je du ma se ya sim jen tham je ge tar ba da tham je ki bo go wan to ye dan da ya ni lu so lu di ya dang gi sam be ge so su gi long jue ka ri ne an jen ya sim ba dang gi sim jen di yu tu ya ge dang gi rangi dusumye kewese be kewa karasawa chasaya shala tangi sembeki dushanliya tangi sebe dushine daya mewa cheche dushine samlodi tangi sembeki dushine samtangore dinige samtang tangi sembeki diyana rangliya chik nga ode chasang tangshan nga kyobo chagare nga kanga chege samla gyune matawache dinige sang nga rangliya kare chuna majuna kewa kaime shenliya digi chuna shenji kanga seyade shen simchen tamche tarbada tamche kembe goba tobla digi dus ngāla kāngā kiwa kāi mēsā mē dūshina samtāngchina tāngari sā ngāla ya sūsū yu pā kātse tā rōpa chewe nā sūli ya ngāla ya gyōngyō jinā tīku ngāla ya tūji che mālam nā tīki rēs ngāla ya tam nā nyāndā tā sūsū ya tāiwi nā kāyā kū mēs chēsā tā shēn lī pēmpē chūm nā tīki dūsi bē shēn kōnā samtāngchina shēn yi tīki kōnā samtāngchina rāngchūna samtāngchina gyūnyē mē bāche dūchina samtāngchina shēn yi tāngi ya sāmbē dūchina samtāngchina mē bāche dūchina kōmyo lō lusi lo di samlo di dusi yane yando dusi na daya di da nga zo dongwe lo jihwa si war di yane yando dusi na sam daya di dusi na dang di gonggo re si war da.
So this then is how to do the meditation, how to train one's mind. We have in this verse, we have what we are offering, we then have to whom we are offering, why we are offering, and how to do the offering, so those four components. So we train our mind in those four components, developing the wish that everything that the overriding purpose of my life is to help others gain freedom from suffering. The very purpose of my life is to ease the suffering burden of all mother sentient beings. And therefore, with that as my purpose, my body and my life is dedicated to that. My possessions are dedicated to the achieving of the needs of others. All the virtue that I have accumulated, am accumulating, will accumulate, is for the very purpose of easing the suffering of all mother sentient beings. Therefore, may I give my body to others. May I give my life to others. May I give all my possessions, everything that I own or may come to own, I will give to others so as to ease their suffering. Likewise, all the virtue that I've accumulated may ripen in their experience of happiness. And so we have here at the forefront of the mind, giving to others. But then we remind ourselves of our own situation by developing the determination through giving my body, my possessions, my virtue. Should that mean I encounter any hardships or problems? That's of no concern. The very purpose of my life is to ease the suffering of others. And if in doing that I encounter hardships, that's of no concern. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I benefit others, that I help them fulfill their deepest wish, which is to attain lasting happiness. So this then is how we do this meditation, how we train our mind.
Dinigi, that's two Shinalo Shahari. That Dinigi Gablia and the Shandaji, Tima long more she live in a currently Chala Yoba Chasangalia, Tiro Chilamna, that Delia, Dicaptilia, and then at Lochangi Chasan, the Ins and some jungle, didn't Chasan. station the degree well and that idea yomar. Says that the Niki Jikshanda, Kurungi, Ludianga, Jeroche, and Nekasore, your own lodges and Jeroche, Saji, Chimberlong, Chilevina, Delia, Danzuki, some time, the Gartangor, Sene, Kajile. So Nubi Gangjodi, Nubi Gangjodi called Robache, the Che to Yetiche. That so good. Tangi, Yamlin Chadi, Narang Dundalianga, Shenley Pembers to Gore, me and the Shen Pember to Wadanga, Shenley Pando to Yedona, Simja Tamjaki to Sanjo Togo, De Tobala, Ludin Sogo Wore. She said that the Twingy the Yangaralia, a Jingarang Kibuda, Nara Digi the Mayba, Shenley Pember to Yalia, Yengi Digi to Shenley Pendo to Yalia, Nangara Lucia, the Twinking to do, Nangara Yagi Sebi. Those did on and Yagus, that Chasnati to Samaravna, that did go Kawacha Mar, Yomar. Is a dushin somebody, was Suzuki, Yad, Chasatama to Soso Yadi, Susu Yadi, Shenley, Pembichi to me, Pendi to Viala, Maluso, Wore, Nasimja Tamji Donala, Sanjo Komotoyala, Maluso, Yamnichi Wore, Ding and Lutin Yamnichi Matuna, Tungi Menanga, Yamnichi, which is a D. Dondala, Simja Tamja Sanjo Komoto Chido. Simja Tamjele. Pember to be Chedo and the Rangu Sue, Donald, Arang Tunidi, Naya, Dushin, Dushin Yagins, be patched down some Davina, or Tido Rocasan, Susu Yadia, Matawatia, Susuki, Kiwuchia, Soso, Kiwu some time, Semjing Donalin, Yagupas, Dushin, Pishitan Gupas, Dushin some Danyavin, to go to Kawachi to go, what else, Dushin and Yamnes or some Dustangu or what, and also in the town to Omar, the
This training we're doing in meditation. So meditation, one can role play situations or imagine situations rather, where one does give everything. And where one may think of actual situations in the world and imagine being able to give and ease the suffering that we know beings are experiencing. And it is fine though, and this needs to be said clearly, it is fine though when out of meditation in the actual world we meet someone and they request something from us, and even if we have what they request, if we do not feel comfortable with giving, do not do so. If someone, for example, to use an extreme illustration, if someone comes to you and says, give me everything you have, give me all your possessions, use your intelligence, rely on your wisdom, and politely say no. We need to rely on our intelligence and practice generosity within the confines of our capacity. In meditation, the purpose of meditation is we're training our minds. In meditation, we are slowly expanding our capacity. And we are slowly expanding our capacity genuinely. So over a very long period of training, we will be able to give more, actually give more than we used to give. But in the meditation, we're giving all and giving freely. But out of the meditation, we continue to use our intelligence and we give where we can, and where we cannot, we use that as motivation to strive to accumulate ever more virtue. Because by accumulating ever more virtue, we will have more to give, whether in this or future lives, we will have more to give. So where we experience limitations, where the suffering of beings is beyond our capacity, we develop our determination ever further to strengthen our capacity to be able to help in areas which are now beyond us. So this then is the skillful way and the realistic way in which one both trains and gives.
Deva digi di temba shi simja dunga da jago simja tamje le digi duya da nyagab gi digi da tardu tarche da tamje kebe tarba tamje kebe goban to udu di toya ge donda liang e kozule panbi chedo 당에는 가라 그 류를 뭐지 예소다 제바 탐제 신 심지를 당기 선비기 도신 당 당기 선비 도샤 대안은 라하려야 안지 퐁비 삼바당 소설야 아니 냥 인고의 냐다용 위치 가야메 소소야 가르제네 강아 같이 체외네 이 심전 탐지되는 두 땅이 선배게 두진의 삼단두신의 삼단으로 장고래서 조다 디스무 지송하는로 장야지 두신으로 로종세도 가서 로려 삼내 야내 야도 야내 땅도 되니게 땅에 선배들 되니고 동에 선배들 슈처셔셔 루고를 지나다가 동에 선배들 슈처 루고를 나서려 가려서는 다 롱주로지 또 땅에 량양지 됐다 투비네 류 땅에 배강아서 치고를 류 땅투 말이지 지나다가 아주 류디 아주 류당 롱주니나 아주 류디 배 자치 못 지시네 장아주 롱주르게 차상 소소 류송이야 된다 루디고서 제사 소소 류디 송이야게 류디 송이야 된다려 아주 지 롱주 변주 류디 차사디 된다 직직으로 제사 아주 나의 류디 나의 깔려하고 쉬운 걸 봐. 제사되는 제사의 류디도 소소라 담바 제진 쉬고 제반자 여반자 니 제진의 도하게 된다래야. 근데 지게 류디 땅에서 장기 지도 삼도 슈슈지도는 랑이 류리아 제진의 슈처 충충충로의 마음반에 내게 삼바디 니바 용수소바 지 내어되는 류당 투바디 용거를 받아.
Further in the meditation, we develop the wish, because for us, in our first line, gives both to whom the generosity is given, is practiced, and for what purpose. So we develop the wish, may all beings experience happiness. May all beings only experience happiness. In particular, may they come to achieve the lasting stable happiness of liberation and enlightenment. And until that's achieved, may they experience all forms of temporary happiness and never suffer. So we develop this yearning for beings to abide in happiness. And as this yearning grows within us, the wish will follow. May I help them achieve happiness. May I help them both achieve all forms of temporary happiness and in particular help them attain ultimate happiness, the happiness of liberation and enlightenment. And as this grows stronger within oneself in meditation, one develops aspiration. May I be able to give my body to ease their suffering. May I give my possessions to ease their suffering. May I give all my virtue to others so that it can ripen in ways helping them achieve ultimate happiness. And train our mind to give ever more these three objects, our body, possession, and virtue. Train our mind further through imagining ourselves giving with at the forefront of our mind the purpose of others, watching our mind in the meditation where we're imagining giving to ensure that our mind is free of any self-interest, so that there is no sense of loss or regret or miserliness, but where we give freely. Moreover, in our meditation, when we become aware of thoughts arising, but what if I give everything and then I experience hardships? If I give all the food in my home and then I go hungry? Strengthen your determination by focusing on the benefit that what's important is that I help others. And whatever hardships I encounter in this life, that's of no importance. The purpose of my life is to help others. So by meditating in this way, we strengthen this attitude ever more to give. Because this is what we do in meditation. We train our mind. And this is how we train our mind to give. And through doing so, out of meditation, it won't be any easier to give our body. We still are not ready for that. But slowly, we'll be able to give of our possessions. And also, through developing the wish to give more, we'll take care of this body. We'll look after this life and utilize our energy and our skills to gather resources to be able to give further to others. And in this way, we will spiritually develop, and eventually we will be developed sufficiently where we can actually give of our body.
Bendigo 다른 거는 류롱주에 계속다 제바 심지어 탐지기도 나 땅고비기 다 김제로 지가래 라는데 삼다 디송거 마 김제로 근데 삼다야래요 탐지에 따위에 양한 데스 다로 양한 데버줍 탐지에 동어 챕지라 셈젠남라 동어 촉스
So in this 11th verse, it mentions to what we give and to whom and with what attitude and then the purpose to benefit beings. Now this is expanded on, the reason for giving is expanded on in the next verse, in the 12th verse. By giving everything, sorrow will be transcended and my mind will realize the sorrowless state of nirvana. As everything will have to be given up in the end, it is best to offer to all sentient beings now.
탐지에 따위에 양한 디에스도 당하는 양한 디에스데 녀모 바샤다 제바 뻥비 뻥바 양디 미니베 양디 상지요 공토에 순거래 지자 미니베 양디에서 지자 디가는 세 투브레스네 탐지에서 다대시 류롱주 계속 탐지에 될야 착과매바 시엔심제다 착과매바 아니 지마 땅베 냠는 제발에 때네 아니 땅위에 탐지에 땅위에 세류 탐지에 세디 대시 류롱주 계속 제바 탐지에 다 될야 아니 착과매바제 소소기 착과매바제 차상 심지 탐지를 땅위에 땅위도 진비 파진 냠는 조어진데 되네 미니베 녀모 바차다 제바 뻥비 미니베 냐데 톱투고 예절이다 제사 냠네 진비 냠네 탈침발라 때네 안데지 톱투고 예스 미니베 냐데 톱투고 예절이 탐제 따위 양한 데서
So I guess it's just talking on the first line, but just firstly to mention, in the first and second line we have two terms, and they both mean nirvana, and in particular the nirvana, or non-abiding nirvana or Buddhahood. So sorrow will be transcended. This here refers to, it is the word for nirvana, and it has the meaning of Buddhahood. And the next line, the sorrowless state of nirvana, there I've written it more clearly. So in Tibetan both would be nirvana. By giving everything, to nirvana, and my mind will realize nirvana. So that's what it would be literally. So both of these terms, sorrow will be transcendent and the sorrowless state of nirvana, refer to nirvana, and of the different types of nirvana, this is non-abiding nirvana or Buddhahood. So now to come to what Geshe said. By giving everything here refers to what we've just looked at in the previous verse. Giving our body, giving our possessions, giving our virtue of the three times, giving everything, nirvana will be attained, or sorrow will be transcended, suffering will be transcended. What this refers to is that one should be striving to not merely give, but to give without attachment. Because it's through giving up attachment, through giving everything, nirvana is achieved. So what is being said that's new in this first line is that one gives, by giving everything, one also gives up attachment. Or put in an if. By giving everything, if one also gives up attachment, then sorrow will be transcended or nirvana will be attained.
탐지에 땅에 차과매 받다서 소수의 롱줄에 차지 소수의 롱줄에 차과에는 땅 하나로 고구두세 비게 삼는 거로 그래서 소수의 롱줄에 차과에는 띵 하나로 고구두세 될 차도변은 현래 제투 말와 지선 현래 제투 말 지선 랑교 류래야 차지 랑교 류래 차과 있게는 이 현래 땅투 말와 지선 류다 롱줄다 계속 가래래 될 차과 규님에 봐지 소수의 고구두세 차과매 봐지 파 류고래 현래 동고래 해서다 제네기자 탐지에 세대 되네기 류롱적에서 탐지라 소소를 말하는 고고도 세베델이야 차바께 봐나 뒤땅투 말에 지상 차바매 봐 바땅 고래에서 땅나도 신땅 고래에서
Giving without attachment is giving without any thought of, but what about me? Or a thought of, and what giving with a thought of, but what about me, in terms of, but what do I have left for myself, or what karmic result will I get? So without any such attachment to either to loss or receiving something in return or result. As another way to express it is giving without miserliness, giving without self-centered attitude. But it comes down to this thought of, what about me? Giving without attachment means one gives without such attitudes.
냠는 디 냠는 제바 냠는 탈쳔 발라 때네 다 상유고 뭐 도고고 와 마도 미니베 냐데 디 톱두고 마 제세 디네서 짐바 류로 짐베 파지 냠는 탈쳔 발라 소소 류로 저 탐제래 차바메 바 땅고고 와 제네게 디네게 땅고 와서 디네 땅 발라 때네 미니베 냐데 톱두고 와 대자 아주 류로 저 계속다 제바 땅기 셈베 동심 장고야데 예침부 디네게 와 진짜 미니베 냐데 톱고고래 디 톱발라 짐베 파지 냠는 탈치네 도고를 제가 진배 팔지 냠는 다 맞진 바다 도투야요 말에 제가 디네자 진배 팔지 냠는 탈친 바라다 유로지 계속돼 제바 탐지에 차 땅고도와 세미 파파마 바 땅고에 세베 냠는 지역고 바디 윤천데 디지 땅보 지지디 냠는 지역고 윤천데 다디디 부도신 송고 삼땅고래제 도신의 삼땅고래제.
This here points to why the training in generosity is so important. So you all know, to become a Buddha, you need to generate bodhicitta and train in the 6 perfections. And of the 6, the first is that of generosity. Yeah, so the first of the 6 perfections is that of generosity. So here we see how the skilled bodhisattva practices generosity, which is not merely giving, even with giving with sincerity, but ensuring that they give with a mind free of attachment. Because the purpose of the perfection of generosity is to benefit beings and to help benefit them evermore to attain enlightenment. So therefore, the skilled bodhisattva, when practicing generosity of all types, will try to practice without attachment. And in this way, they will be eventually able to, through the accumulation of merit, abandon the affliction together with their seeds and attain nirvana. So this is why the perfection of generosity is so important.
안 상계리아 대바제 안 상계 손바나지야 철 퇴섬제 인지게 개와 개주 주비에디 가신 두고서네 상계고 냥을 대바 미니베 냐디 상계고 미니베 냐데디 두비에게 돈다라 가지기디 로기 가줄로디 미니베 냐데 두고 두고로 디 되네 가지게 개월 두고도 와스 세상 가지기로 가지기 가르 두고서 미니베 냐데 두고 두고도 와스 세상 미니베 냐데 두고 되어 인자 미니베 냐데 두발라 지네 아주 집이 류로지 교서도 제바 탐지 땅고래 땅지는 두고고로 와서 세상에 미니베냐도 두버 되고 되네다 톱고도 두고도 톱고 선배네 라렌테 마다베네 유디마사베네 톱도요 말 와서 세상 아주 삼론하리야 세상 미 달로 삼로디 아주 미니베냐디 쭉 되고 와레스 쭉 되어 인자다 디 두비알의 유디 가레스네 류로지 교서도 제바 델리아 차바메바 아야디레스 이땅와라 때네 토고로 와스 데네 엔자다 유로지 계속돼 제가 탐지 땅고고래 사지 운도심 송고래.
The second line, my mind will realize the sorrowless state of nirvana. The first 2 words, my mind. So this is our mind that we have been training for so long. This mind that we've been training through hearing, reflecting, and meditating. Through practicing in the way presented in the first line, by giving everything, sorrow will be transcended. So by training in that way extensively, in particular what it refers to here is giving our body without attachment, giving our possessions without attachment, giving our virtue of the 3 times without attachment. In this way, we will achieve non-abiding nirvana or enlightenment. But the key addition here again is this is giving without attachment.
자, 다들 로직 계속 탐제 땅고래서 윤생가 땅고래서 지 윤생가야 한 먹었는데 땅고래서 삼로디 다음에 디지기 뉴벌이야 지 슈처 되어야 지 야기 되어야 강아 중화체 용거래. 그래서 다들 윤생데 삼다지 땅고비 윤생 가르친 땅고고래서 전에 두신의 삼다데 윤생 삼땅고로 윤생 삼다다 지신 거래. 그래서 윤생 사도 미니베 소속이 다른 양은 대버줍선 소소의 삼문이야. 이 개와 제바디 가르친 지고는 샘제 산조 고방 토벌시로 몰람 제고래. 샘제 탐지교 산조 고방 토비 7동이 내직 산이 지수라지 냐면 지기도 와서 지기로 와서. 제산 산조 고방 두 산조 고방 미니베 냐데 등아 두고 거나 토고 거 와서. 안 토고네 몰람 제바쯤이 톱는데 수인에 dum디고시 토두고 와서. 제디님 제산다 산이교 손셔바들 디토에 유 파진두기 냠len 치고 거래. 냠len 제발에 토고. 저 파진두기 냠len 제발 진비 파진 냠len 치고 거래. 근데 진비 파진 냠len 제발 르로제 계속다 제발 탐제려야 안 차번 봐. 땅 고우도 와서 이 땅에 냠len 우도신 땅비 냠len 제네 탈신 바 있네. 지제도 냐디 토투도 와서 미니비냐 토투도 와서 누치는 삼다이도 오다 되니기 김세 되니 인자다 닐루로제 계속다 제발 탐제샤려야 안데 펌바메바 샘제 탐지기도 땅이 샘비기 삼다에 두 삼로디다 동외 샘바 자야디 누가 공부해도 펴야다 김천 통외 통내다 고소리 냠내지야 차고로 와 김천 통외 통내 냠내지야도 안디 냠내디 누가 숙체를 줘야다 배선 숙체야지 용거로 와 김천 마통 바에는 냠내지는 아니 미션다지게 하죠 아다디 다가서 두여요 말 이 견한 깔래 하러에서 그 류삼제 간에서 나도 그래서 되네 이제는 지셰베 나가서 오다 왜네 교셰베 된바래서 다디 전면에서 메시아제는 하여로 와
You have heard me encourage you, or you would have heard me emphasize many times the need to think for ourselves, to understand why we do things, or why we should be do things. So in this instance, the practice of giving our body, possessions and virtue, to the extent that one understands why this practice is important, one will want to know how to do it and will train well to do it properly. Without having a good understanding for the reasons why one needs to practice generosity, one will struggle to develop this practice within oneself. One will struggle to grow in this practice. So it's important to know the reasons behind why one does practices such as these and all others, and not just hear them, but integrate them within oneself so that those reasons motivate you. So one needs to practice generosity for many reasons. A clear one is to ease the suffering of others. Another way to look at this is so as to accumulate merit. And why do we need to accumulate merit? Because it will help us achieve Buddhahood. And why do we want to achieve Buddhahood? And it goes back to that first point, so as to benefit others, to help ease their suffering evermore. So we see this link that the mind of bodhicitta has these two aspects of attaining Buddhahood in order to help others gain freedom from suffering. And for this reason, we engage in our practices such as generosity. We give of ourselves in various ways, physically, giving physical help, giving our possessions, dedicating our merits, having as our motivation to help. All being so as to ease the suffering of others and to aid our spiritual development so we can ease the suffering of others evermore. This is then deepens our understanding, or broadens our understanding rather, of why to give. And to broaden our understanding ever further, bring into what has been introduced tonight, the need to give not just with a sincere attitude, but with an attitude as free of the afflictions such as attachment as possible. Because it's through the abandonment of the afflictions that liberation is achieved. So this is a much deeper level of giving of oneself, to do so without self-interest, without any attachment to things such as praise and karmic results. This is how we need to train our mind. And by understanding this, this will motivate us to engage in this meditation ever more, strengthen our practice of generosity. Without knowing this, people may say, why are you doing this? Why are you giving? Why are you practicing charity, for example? Why are you going without so that you can give? And then not understanding why, you're not likely to continue, you're likely to be influenced by these people and give up. So there are many reasons why it's important to think for ourselves, to develop a deep understanding, because thereby our giving will be sustained, be heartfelt, and it will be conjoined with wisdom.
아니네야 삼다나 두스당고래소야 탐제 동래 찹지라 심제 남라 땅와 초 시되다 탐제 땅와 탐제 동와를 시되다 찹지라 시되 찹지라 세디 지뒤시라 냠도세 제고 이나 조부세데 진짜 조부세 지어를 지금 되네고요 조부 찹지라 세디 가브리엘 조부세를 고아요 고고래 가브리엘 뒤시라 냠도세 제고 제사데 디도부도 세지어로 와데 데니 자발에 고고래 다 뒤시 냠들 세데 고고래 너나다 데니기 탐제 동화를 잡지라세 탐제 동화세도 델리아 삼가는 땅고라선 데니시거다 다라지 류롱죄 롱죄디게도 신의 삼다나 나 주게 직샬마당 바제 냐되버네 소수게 샬마당 바제 냐버네 안에 가려서도 또 소소야 글리지마 지금 소수의 시도도 니 차사지 봐 소소의 비주다 메르와다 비주다 메 차사다 소소야 메바 차루고라 지난 동화라도 소소리 진보 여바지 수수샬래 제샤반의 소소 메르와 파동사 샬래 때는 소소 메바 차고라 니나신다 진바디기 롱주디기 소소샬래 마당 바이네 마동 바이네야 맞아 바이네 소소도 젠다 지게 시도디 갑라 야네 구마기 미체도 바이네 구마고 지체도 바이네 소소 마르베네 소소파 동안나시 메바 차소로와 다도 신네 데네기 소소의 시도비 갑리네 소소 롱주 샤사 소소야 메바 차루고 소소 베지타이 메바 엔 소소 류디에 베지타이 메바 온두신 메바 차루고 그래서 아니 개위 개와라 사위네 개와디게사 제고 차지 민제리네 뉴바 조르고 그래서 지난 두신네 메바 차 제자 디 된다 마주바제 된다 소소기 된다 치모 마주바제 두신네 메바 차루고 와서 두진의 삼당고에서 다 소수율로주 계속되지 않는 마땅바이나 가르쳐서냐 되거나 가르려서는 다 소수기 간섬질이야 소수기 딱받긴 보여면 이미지 시도를 걸다 소수율로주 같이 여배나 차상 소수를 배주다요 말 소수를 판도요 소수를 메바 차루고 그래서 안에 소수 류디야 메바 차루고 소수기 개와서 개위자와 되네 지 렌지 개와 되고 민제는 얘네 지금 무티니 미야메바로 두세 차루고래 선배 삼다드 디바 안에 탐제 동화세도 탐제파 진바당화다 진바당화나시 진바당나 진짜는 메바 차소스 메바 차로 어디나 신다 진바당화나시 안 잡지글라스네 메바 차로 저부리스 파 동화다 저부리스 이네 디기 제부 두야요 말 제부야요 말스로 진바당화네 진바당위기 제부 주야요로 봐 마음반 수술 제부 연구로 봐 다데디 파동아 나시 메바 차루고 디 디부야요마 던더두야요 말와스 제선 두시 삼다디 소소 류로제 계속 같이 예배이나 소소게 샹라 마동와제 소소게 배 차섬 계지 배지 지우 제신제 되베이나 니미주 소소마 시도데 진동아 나신체네 다 잡지글라스 나신 저 동아 나신지 소소레 메바 차루고 그래서 메바 차주고 그래서 제 디시레 안 딜레데다 semjen denigi meba charamate sosuge jebu danda dugo ma dileda sosuge dada semjen namla tangwa chokse rang la ya dada rang yebe kabla rang la rangwa yebe kabla shi kabla rangwa yune me sha sha ma dron ma jiga je me ro da jisan rang dada rang la rangwa yebe kabla ya dada tanggo kore so da tanggo kore semje namla tangwa chokse dada rangwa sosulya rangwa yoba chila dada sosulya chaya go gohab yoba rangwa yoba yoybigi wangshu yoba di kap telya ane jen semje tamche digi tubya semje tamche dunga seya dondalya ni jimba cha tongores din tangwa ina chokse di nyana dinigi tangwigi jimba tangwa di na jimbe na jimba chokres yaksho resa semje tamche dondalya chokresa yani dinigi jimba tangwa la dine 제부 촉 상주고가 도그리 세지 촉세데 모두시네 셈제 남라 당와 촉세데 다들 소소랑라 랑와 여바데 랑와 여바 왕셔고 고갑 여바 뒤 여바 될야 소소 두시 셈제 탐지기 돈달 파 두스 당와 있나 니 땅위기 냠는 땅위 디기 제부 마오바나 네 촉 안에 상주고가 도그리 세지 모두시네 상당고 그래지래
To deepen our understanding further still, we come to the third and fourth line. As everything will have to be given up in the end, it is best to offer to all sentient beings now. So this first line is everything will have to be given up in the end. This refers to this precious life that we have. It will end. So this body that we have, we only have it for a short period. We only have it for a short period left. And we'll have to give that up. All our possessions that we have, no matter how much we may value some of them, all of those we will have to give up in the end. So with this understanding that this life, or to express it differently, this opportunity to practice, this is coming to an end. And when death comes, the opportunities that we haven't utilized are lost. And in our context here of generosity, all that we have guarded and valued and kept safe, kept for a rainy day, the opportunity to use that, to ease the suffering of others, will be lost. The opportunity to use that so as to accumulate merit to help our spiritual development, that will be lost. So here in this third line, we deepen our understanding of why we should be practicing generosity, to understand that our body is impermanent. This life we have is coming to an end. Our possessions, they are impermanent. And they may not make it to the end of our life, and even if they do, they'll be left behind. And then what? The opportunity then to have given them and to have benefited others, the opportunity to have accumulated merit, all lost. Then maybe our family will squabble, or our family will quickly use it and it will be gone, our possessions. So this is all a grave waste. So to further deepen our understanding of the need to develop a generous attitude and to give, we keep in mind the impermanence of our opportunity. And also develop the sense of urgency to transform our mind now, because what is holding us back from giving of ourselves is our attachment. It's through this lack of skill we have due to our attachment that we have miserliness, that we do put our own needs first and foremost. Then the fourth line, the very best thing to do then is to offer to all sentient beings. So this term best, we should understand as having layers of meaning. The first is as is expressed, it is best to offer to all sentient beings now. So therefore, what is being expressed by best is the best offering is to suffering beings, to alleviate their suffering. The second meaning of best is the best way to make these offerings is free of attachment. And the third layer to best is the best goal is to attain enlightenment so that we can help all others also attain enlightenment. So we offer to others to all sentient beings, that's best. We do so with a mind free of afflictions. That's the second meaning. And the third meaning is so that sentient beings, ourselves and others, attain enlightenment. So those are the three layers of meaning to the term best.
다디 주기 짐바 땅고 비기 줌젠도 지나 삼당고 레쇼다 삼당하디 해도 도나디레도와 지사다 소수기 류로제게 소다 제바 tum지 샹리아 땅바 있나 안 소술이야 디 제고 아니 지게 탈바다 탐지 김벽고 마토비 유사고래 지사 디리기 때문에 아니 지 샹리아 판도 주역이 유사에서 디 마오바는 제고 아니 지 샹리아 판바주가 지금 고래서 두신의 삼당이다 데니게 다 소설 때 제가 소설에 강 예바디 베세나 전에 지금 소설에 차는 세나 전에 마땅하지 냐되 베네야 소설 시리급에는 찾아매봐 차로 그래서 소설에 가이 비셔요 말이스 메디에 다디 베셔요 말에 디 제보에 마음반 소설에 미해요 말이스 소설이야 제보 이 마음반에 편도도야다 탈바 탐지 김비고 봐도 유 제보 유 마땅하지 제보 산지고 봐도야라 탈 산지고 봐도비기 판델이야 판도요 연구 말이스 디네 인사다 소설이야 랑화 예비 갑들이야 소설게다 파직 당고도아스 당고베디 당고도아스 당나마 마땅베네 마음반은 매바 차루리 네 지기 딜레데 소 당제 매바서네 약쇼디르다 디기 제보디 현례 펜바지 연구리 아니 랑리네 안타 산지고 봐도 규차거래 해서베 삼당다 직체 난 디니 당보들에 삼다 직들라 아니 데 가소리 탐지 직제산다 산지 영화주 가르토버 두고서는 미 심제 탐지 산지고 방 녀모바 바샤데 제바 방배 냥디디 미네베 냥디디 산지고 파디 주버 되고라 주버 되고라 와스 제는 디 주버 되바서 띵한도 토고고래 토바라 니 유가르 고고서는 지사당 아주 류노제게 소다 제바 땅진이 진비 냠는 탈침발에 때네 냐데 토투고 와래 제는 디 냠는 탈마침발에 토투고 민도와 제가 디네자 진비 냠는 탈침발에 진비 냠는 저거데 계침을 와스 두치는 삼노 김천 삼 땅에도 두치는 삼땅에 되네 김천지 시 삼땅 되네 삼땅들이지 다치게 당고 차용 지산 되네 삼땅 미류 로제게 소제바타 이제 한시한심제 탐지된다 당기 세베데 심제 탐지 탈 산지고 방 투비 치도 내가 탈도 산지고 방 투비 치도 당기 탈도 내가 되기 요야당 아니 지기 내가 되기 세될 되기 겨워치 말하다 미고 토야 안지기 용로 안되게 내가 되기 토야다 탈도 미니베 냐데 토야 돈달이야 니들 방법에 당기 셈베 되네지나 고미야되지 다다진 오마니디 당고비 류로제 계속해 당고비 김전지 삼다에 나 김전지 김전 삼다 김전데도 선 삼다에 토네다 고미야디 지기 당고비 되시도 하되 류로제 계속해 현심자던데 당기 셈베게 된주베치 당기 셈베 삼로디 도시네 야야 다에 고미야디 도시네 지송도디
These two verses then, the 11th and 12th, I encourage you to meditate on them, to meditate on them together. It's a week until we come together again. Meditate on these two verses together. So the second verse of the two presents many reasons to motivate what one does, one's meditation. So you can decide whether to start with that the 12th verse and then go to the 11th, or to do it in the sequence as presented here. And you decide what works better for you. But to summarize the meditation, we've had presented here what it is that we are to offer. What we offer our body, and we've had a presentation that the actual physical giving of our body is something to do much later. But in meditation, one can imagine giving it. Or one can imagine giving oneself physically in terms of service. And secondly, one imagines giving one's possessions, imagining those in need, and what one has, giving that to ease their suffering. And imagine having even more than one has, and giving it to ease the suffering of others. And likewise, all the virtue that we have accumulated. Our virtue usually, when we think about it, it gives us a sense of security about our future lives. But here, with a sincere wish, may others experience that ripening result, we imagine even giving that. So this is what we are offering, and we're offering it to sentient beings, to suffering beings. And we are offering in a way so as to benefit beings. So that was the third point we had. First it was what is being offered to whom, and then the third of the four was what for what purpose. And that was to benefit others, both in terms, and benefiting others, we understand, is what they want more than anything. What we want more than anything is happiness. So we give of ourselves so as to bring both temporary happiness to beings, as well as to help them attain ultimate happiness of liberation and enlightenment. So then in our reflection, we imagine giving them, helping them achieve various forms of temporary happiness, as well as progressing towards and eventually attaining ultimate happiness. And then the fourth point was how to practice generosity. So this was without regret or sense of loss. But as we also had presented in the 12th verse, in those first two lines, is this comes down to giving without attachment. And this attachment, we look for within ourselves. We look for it being expressed as a self-centered attitude, perhaps wanting to praise, wanting a reputation, wanting a smile, wanting to be thanked, or wanting karmic results. Whatever it may be, we try and lift our mind from such a narrow perspective to remind ourselves of a truer perspective of what matters, and that's giving to ease the suffering of others, helping them achieve temporary and ultimate happiness. We remind ourselves further in this point of giving without regret or sense of loss, is that to the extent we can minimize the afflictions when we give, we will, to that extent, we accrue so much more merit, which will help us eventually be able to abandon the afflictions together with their seeds, and in that way, we will transcend sorrow. We will attain the state of nirvana, in particular, non-abiding nirvana or Buddhahood. And then very lastly, the time to do this is now. All that I have to give is impermanent. My opportunity to give is also impermanent. There is no valid reason to hold back, to hesitate. I need to train my mind now continuously, and all that I have in my meditation, I will give. Training our mind again and again in varying ways to ease the suffering of others, to bring happiness and benefit to others. Not allowing our imagination to restrict us in any way, but with a sense of freedom, developing an ever more expansive outlook, just like we see illustrated by the great Bodhisattvas, of giving in a wide variety of manners to ease the suffering of others.
두세 나야 로장세 두시는 고미하게 두시네 공고를 송거로 당한지 다지기 되게 삼다야디 당한지 대당 보호를 다지기 샘제 탐제 안지기 고와 기르견 차사다 동아 유대 받아 디기 강아 마라 강아 유대 받이 당한지 통쇼수 교바 차그로 디네자다 샘제 탐제를 디기 고도 샘제 탐제 동아 세고 디자다 샘제 탐제래야 디기 두비알이야 안지게 내합기 디게다 탈도 아니 지땡이 대와 아니 미네베 산요코반 토비게 토보고도 샘베 삼다 디 토비야게 토야게 돈달이야 아니 시엘이야 미 류로지 계속도 제바 탐제 시엘이야 팸 시엘이야 땅기 콘솔이야 짐바 땅기 샘비기다 동기 샘비바 제나 지다 짐바 통와나다 가실로 고요고 원질로 고여라루고리 이그 세자고 원데 사야라든 디니기 디네기 니께와치 말하다 미고바 토야다 산조고바 토바 토비치도 인셈베 삼다제 이돈달이야 도싱에 당기 인셈베다 네 누코미에 다봉아 주기 삼다야디 셈제 탐제 디기다 저 댕고도 동화다 자고도 제사 셈제라 디기 고도아 시다 디기들의 내갑기 되대 탈도 산지고 봐 토고도 디던달랑에 심제 탐지 나랑 류노제 계속도 제바 탐제 착반해봐 소소래 판반해봐 팜심해봐지 찾아야 현재 땅기 선비 누신의 삼로 대가주의 야내 야도 땅고에 차고다디 고면디 와당아주 디링이 아주게 직진이 되게 납체디 링아주 디 찾아 내내기 토할래 삼로디 야내 야도 땅고 제세 디네 자당아주기 냠내지 세도 다소 두신 로 장야데 조로 장야데 송고로다 근데 로 장유 장내 소수게다 짐바다에기 견섬라 레베네 고할 지역은 소수기 뉴베 강조 토네 소수기 바 짐바다 투예기 뉴바로시라 근지 여바네 강 여바디 바 짐바 뉴바 여바디 바 지기 다야다 뉴바 메나 소수기 디 자산 다야 당 거예요 말하다 저 뉴베 예신데 한테 됐을 제 다마토 베네 근데 다다 차고 말아 디네 자당 가지고 냠린 삼로 땅에 삼로로야 두세 곰체 찾아 땅에서 자야지 당 무소 라렌 진비 라렌 무소 때 레바이나 한 될이야 지게 아주 소수기 뉴비 강조치네 두스타에 마도 안데 냠린 지고스네 소수기 강요바 찾아 땅샤베네 이 소수기 냠린 제발 발시 차고 제가 튀긴 차고 말도 객 차고래 Bendigo 말해서 어두신들 디링 아주 디스 쉬어야 되는데도
in the meditation that I've presented, that is very, very much tied to what is in these two verses. But based on your own, the teachings you've already received, the meditations you've already done, there's much that can be added. So what I'd suggest is these verses are about giving to alleviate the suffering of others, and done in the most skillful of ways. But it's really useful to also reflect on how beings are suffering. So this isn't mentioned here, but you would have received teachings and meditated on this already. So remind yourself of how beings are suffering in the various realms of samsara, the various life forms that we are aware of, human and non-human, and the various expressions of suffering between human beings and animals and so forth. Remind ourselves of the wide expanse of suffering that beings have to endure. And by calling to mind the pain that beings have to endure without any real hope for freedom, generate a wish to give up oneself in all ways possible to ease their burden. Give ourselves physically to help them, give our possessions so as to ease their suffering. Give our virtue so it can ripen, in particular, ripen in ways that help them connect with the path, or connect with the Dharma, so that they too can cultivate paths within. And through the giving of virtue, generate the wish. Through this virtue may it ripen in those beings suffering in the low realms, so that this is their very last rebirth in the low realms. May it ripen in all those in the high realms. May they develop a keen interest in the Dharma and strive in the Dharma. And may this virtue ripen for all beings, enabling them to generate actual definite emergence. May it ripen for all beings so that they develop a deep sense of responsibility towards each other, and thereby a loving and compassionate attitude towards each other. And may this virtue I'm dedicating, may it ripen in a way so that beings become bodhisattvas, so that the realms of samsara are filled with bodhisattvas. And moreover, this virtue I'm dedicating, may it ripen in all beings coming to realize reality, develop the wisdom realizing emptiness themselves. So it's in this way too, one practices generosity. And by doing so, one develops a joy at imagining beings developing spiritually, beings gaining freedom first from temporary sufferings and then cultivating paths within and progressing towards the attainment of lasting, stable happiness of enlightenment. And generate joy at imagining our world filled with beings walking together with you on the paths to enlightenment. So in this way, and as has been mentioned earlier, we train our minds skillfully in generosity. And in this way we can link the practice of generosity to all other trainings too, including that of emptiness. And now, through training in this way, we develop, what we are doing is only this, developing our mind, developing our mental potential. And by developing our mental potential, what currently will seem difficult, we will achieve. What currently we imagine to be beyond us, we will surprise ourselves and we will achieve that. And what right now seems unimaginable, even that is possible for us. And through training skillfully in this way, all will be achieved. Our full human potential will be achieved. Thank you. Thank you.